Welcome to Philadelphia, the city where I got my start. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, City Hall. What's important about this intersection, which is the intersection of Broad and Pine. This actually figured into my story, The Wandering Star. In The Wandering Star, Philadelphia was under a mile of water, and some of the characters had to submerge themselves in pressure bubbles and go through the underwater skeleton of Philadelphia. South Street, Philadelphia. Here's the Theater of the Living Arts. I've always loved to come to South Street, and I remember walking down South Street with a lot of my marching band mates when we went to go see, at the Majestic Theater, The Phantom of the Opera. That was my favorite musical, and that gave a lot of inspiration for Ballet of the Crypt Dancer and the Theater Massacre. I was hanging out on Pine Street in this area when I received a phone call from my sister that my niece was born. Here, we are at the Wolfgram Memorial Library at Widener University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The reason why we are here is because this is the school that I went to and where I got my start as a writer. In the book, The Mortician, the novel that came out in 2017, these is the set of steps that the main character Jacob meets Daryl and Susan, who are his research partners when they go explore the abandoned Waxley Mortuary. Old Main, this is one of the administration buildings where President Bruce used to sit, where his office was. He's unfortunately passed away recently. I saw the news on social media. As a writer from the Dome newspaper, I was able to see a lot on campus and talk a lot about on campus and things like that. So, definitely a lot of legacy here. Widener University campus. My alma mater. I wrote for the campus newspaper here. I was an arts and entertainment editor. Here I am visiting again, visiting my past at a school named after people who were in first class on the Titanic, the Wideners. And when I was here, I was a writer. That's what birthed my love and joy of being a writer. I knew one day I would be published, but I didn't know how, I didn't know when. However, I took a lot of language courses, sociology, psychology, really got to understand people, characters. This path that I'm standing on here right now is the same path that appears in The Mortician. This is where the graduate students meet with their professor on the night before Jacob goes to the Waxley mortuary, and their professor warns them not to go prior to presenting their thesis and receiving sponsorship from the university. The Widener clock. Could this be one of the reasons why time is always a theme in a lot of my novels? This is the first screening, like official screening, of March of the Writers 2024, which is the March of the Writers journey. So I created the video, Author A.L. Mengel, in conjunction with Parchment's Press Video, and this was also based partly on the prompts with March of the Writers that were created by author J.D. Estrada. So enjoy, here we go. We're going to start watching March of the Writers. Here is Mom making potatoes in the microwave that Ty bought for them many years ago. There we are. As we're watching March of the Writers' first official screening. In the era of the cross, I kind of give an analogy of how the writer's career can kind of be like blossoms on a tree. Now, that actually refers back to March of the Writers in 2023, chapter 5, when I have all the footage where I went to Miami to accept my award for the gold medal for supernatural fiction at the International Book Awards. And there is footage there of a gigantic tree that looks to be thousands of years old that was probably like 6 or 7 feet wide at its base where the trunk was. And so trees have been a big part of my journey. Here is a tree that I planted years ago, which we brought from another house of ours that we sold, which is now in bloom and blossoming. And when I planted it, it was much, much smaller. But as you can see, the tree will grow. It continues to grow, but it takes time to blossom and flourish. There's a story behind this tree. When I was a little boy, I dug up a very small tree back in the woods, back in the forest. Took it inside the house, roots and all, says, "Mom, look, I found a tree. I got you a tree." Of course, she kind of gasped that I was tracking dirt all over the house and onto the carpets. And she says, "Go outside and plant the tree so it can grow. Give it water." Well, this is where I planted it. Right next to the house. It's a bit close, as you can see. The tree has grown. We're living in the era of the bathroom selfie, aren't we? So it's kind of interesting because in this bathroom, I remember looking at my reflection as a little boy, probably 8 or 10 years old, and I was already starting to be an entertainer back then because I brought a boombox recorder, little cassette tape box in here, and I recorded what was supposed to be like a entertainment variety show on audio called The Andrew Mengel Show. Now, I, of course, was kind of ridiculous and everything, and I wanted to make this sound effects of somebody throwing up in the toilet, and so I used this washcloth, and I left it in the toilet, and I didn't realize, and I flushed the toilet, flushed the washcloth down the toilet. Needless to say, my mother was none too pleased,
because there was a pretty big plumbing bill afterwards and everything like that. However, the reflection in the mirror has changed.